What's going on, guys? Mountaineer Mitch here, going to present who I think should be in the college football playoffs. Now, let me be honest, I am a fan of West Virginia, and this team in West Virginia obviously has a little bit of play in this, but not enough to where you could call me biased or anything like that. And you might be a little surprised who I have in there. And the reasons I have why. And if you like the reasons I have why, and you feel that my reasons are right or my reasons are wrong, please leave a comment and do what you do. And I don't care. You can make fun of me in the comments, whatever. But I don't know all the final scores last night, but I do know that every team won. I turned it off late after Florida State scored, and the other games are pretty much out of hand. I know Baylor won also. So now let the debates begin on these teams. Now, number one overall, I have Oregon. The reason I have Oregon is they had their revenge game against Arizona, the only team they lost to, and they blew them out. Number two, I have Bama. Bama might be the best team overall, all around. Bama does have a little trouble playing at neutral sites and then winning, but they handily took care of Missouri, which, Missouri's probably not, the best opponent for them to play in the championship, but, who else is left on the other side of the conference that's actually any good? If you put one of the other teams in the same side as Alabama to play, it probably would have been a lot better game. But Alabama pretty much just blew them out. All right, moving on. Number three. Now this is where it gets a little tough. I have to go Florida State, just because they're undefeated. Now Florida State's out-of-conference schedule and inter-conference schedule, these teams aren't very good. The ACC is not a conference where you can look at and say, this team is really good. No. These teams in this conference isn't very good. Florida State's here, and everybody else is way down here. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just like your outer-conference schedule was Oklahoma State, really. I don't even know who the other teams were. And Oklahoma State barely almost beat you, and Oklahoma State might be the third to last in the Big 12. And, I don't know, but I don't think it matters who Florida State plays. They could play a junior college and keep close with them at least until halftime. Now, Florida State did look a lot improved and put points on the board against Georgia Tech. That was my thing, is if Georgia Tech got up by 2 or 3 touchdowns and got the ball, they would run it out. But Georgia Tech's defense just wasn't ready for O'Leary in that passing game. And Winston, the offensive line gave him a lot of time, and he found his places. And they battled back and forth. And then once I knew there was going to be 2 turnovers, the field goal game come in effect, and they kicked the ball like no other. Just pretty much beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech just isn't a team that could come back, from, being down so long. So, they just like to run the ball. If they're up, they're going to win. And not, then I'm about to kill this cat. But anyways, if they're up, they could easily run out the clock and beat them. I think that's what they did against Georgia. They pretty much shut Georgia down. But this is where the tough part begins. You have TCU that lost to Baylor, but TCU looks like they're on fire. We have Ohio State that lost to Virginia Tech, but Ohio State is looking a lot better. And then we have Baylor, who lost to West Virginia, and this is where West Virginia comes into effect. Not much here, because I'm going to go ahead and eliminate Baylor, because Baylor has almost lost to Texas Tech. They did beat a pretty good Kansas State team yesterday. And they somehow miraculously come back and beat TCU. Which was, I didn't get to watch that game. But when you're down by 3 touchdowns, you end up beating them by 3 touchdowns and a field goal. It's pretty good. But I don't think that, Baylor's good, but they're not proven to me enough that they are good enough to be in the top 4. Now, this is where it comes down to. TCU and Ohio State. Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech. A very, very, very bad Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech tied with Wake Forest and lost in overtime. You know, like really, you Wake Forest, you know, Ohio State has looked a lot better though. But and they say, well, you know, that was our first year with our first time with the quarterback and the offensive line. I don't care, because your defense gave up 35 points to compare that to a Wake Forest team that is horrible, that shut them down to 0 points. You say the teams are supposed to get better as the season goes on. Well, Virginia Tech didn't, and I think that hurts them the most. See, now looking at TCU, the only team they lost to was Baylor. And guess where Baylor's at? At the number 6 spot on my list of are they in or are they out? And if you lost to a team that's even, you know, remotely that good, then that's good. I think the other thing is, though, all around the better conference is the Big 12 instead of the Big 10. Now, here comes a little biased, and you might think that I'm stupid and silly for saying this, but it is. Oklahoma is all right. Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma. Now, I don't care about wins and losses. Everybody changes every week, and they might have had a great game plan. I didn't get to see it, but I had a great game plan and, you know, maybe shocked Oklahoma or whatever. But West Virginia, bowl game. Team that didn't have a bowl game. TCU didn't do crap last year, and now they are in my college top 4. And I think that's where you decide. I think that the rankings stay the same. I don't care where you put them. You can switch Alabama and Oregon 1 and 2, because really putting Oregon at 3, you don't want to see the best 2 teams. Because honestly, the best 2 teams are Oregon and Alabama right now. And that's what the committee is supposed to do. We're not looking, and I know that you might say I'm biased for not looking back. Virginia Tech is crap, and Baylor is better. And I think that's where it comes down to. I understand that Baylor beat TCU, but Baylor has not done anything really to prove it. For some reason, TCU fell asleep there at the end and got beat by Baylor. I know that that should be a head-to-head factor, but Baylor struggled against Kansas State, and I can't remember what TCU scores against Kansas State. I think they blew them out. I think they took them to the woodshed, and them beating. I know that Iowa State is not that good. They haven't won a conference game, but when you beat a team by 53 points, you're kind of the real deal. Or 52 points or whatever they beat them by. You can't, and that team gets the same recruits. It's not, and the same recruit count, the same, you know, they still have the same opportunities that TCU does. It wasn't like they were beating Barber College by 53 points. No. They beat an Iowa State team that is in the Big 12. I understand they're not that good, but it's still an accomplishment. So, to me, TCU's played a lot better, Ohio State's playing a lot better, and Baylor's just barely hanging in there. Baylor did lose to a pretty good team, West Virginia, on the road. But TCU beat the same team on the road and beat them by a field goal. West Virginia's hung out with teams, you know, all year, and I believe that they're going to have a pretty good bowl game and might be a surprise to people. But besides that, you know, and let's be honest, guys, this 4-team playoff crap is not going to work. And I know you don't want to really extend the season, but there has to be at least 8 teams. And I know that, you know, you're struggling to put teams in there. Put the hottest team in now. I remember watching back, USC might have lost to like Oregon or somebody earlier in the season and was red hot at the end. But they didn't make it to the national championship because they lost earlier in the year. Now, take it out of the equation, you know, I don't know who my top 8 teams would be, and you're probably saying, well, they'll say 8 teams, and you don't know who your 8 teams are. I got to sit down and analyze it just a little bit better than what I did at this. But my top 4, and I'm going to end this video because we're almost at 10 minutes. We got Oregon, Alabama, Florida State, TCU. 2 teams at the bottom, you can switch. The 2 teams at the top, you could switch. But those are my top 4. and I gave you pretty good reasons why. Now, maybe you have better reasons, or maybe you just want to come over here and bash because I didn't pick your team, Baylor fans. I didn't pick your team, Ohio State fans. But that is what it is. And, if you want to get butthurt on the internet about football that I have nothing to do with, and I'm just giving my opinion, that's on you. Hell, you might not even made this long. So, if you made this long, appreciate it. If not, oh well, suck. See you when I see you. That's really about it, guys. Mountain Ember signing out. Peace.